an interesting quote last week, I think it was. Somebody asked the question of what is the aim when you are playing chess? And the person they asked replied reasonably, I thought, the aim is to win. And apparently that's not technically correct. Apparently, when you're playing chess, the way you play is to avoid losing. Because if you avoid losing, then there are two other possibilities. One of those possibilities is, of course, that you win, and the other possibility is that you tie. There's a draw between the two players. And apparently, a draw is an acceptable outcome. Now, this resonated with me quite a lot because I realized that this actually can apply to a lot of other things. And when I apply it to working in a creative industry, I think it actually fits really, really well. And I want to explain why. I've been doing this for over 20 years, and there are quite a few friends and colleagues that I've had over the years that have left the various creative industries that they've worked in. The video game industry is a common one, where a lot of the people who I worked with many years ago no longer work in the video game industry. A lot of the programmers decided that they were sick of working weekends and evenings, and they went off and got a job working in the banking industry where they were getting paid more money and they're only ever working 9 to 5. And that is a completely separate video in that one of how our industry treats staff. I mean, that's a no-brainer. Sure, you might enjoy working in the video game industry, but especially somebody who wants to have a family, they can find a position in another industry doing very similar work where they are earning more money to work less hours and having less stress. Certainly that job might be boring, TM, and a lot of them later on said, yep, it's very, very boring, but I get to have a life, I get more money, I get more choices. That's a problematic thing. In a lot of other cases, artists, level designers, sound people I know have literally just burnt out. They've been unable to sustain the working hours that have been expected of them, the stress that's been expected of them, the uncertainty that's been expected of them, and in some cases, the not very good pay that's been expected of them. And so they've burnt out and they've left creative industries completely. So how does the chess analogy work into this? I think I'm probably going to do a separate video on defining success, but I think in some ways success is, one definition is being able to maintain a career. The simple fact that I've been able to do this for 20 years is a sign of success. How much money I'm earning, whether I've worked on award-winning games or AAA games or Hollywood movies or, you know, Emmy award-winning TV shows or whatever, those things in some ways might be the pinnacle. Those are the win scenario. But I would suggest that I have successfully managed to get a tie or a draw scenario again and again and again that has allowed me to stay in the industry. And I've done that by making decisions that have been the best decision at the time. So sometimes that's meant I've gone off and done a little bit of teaching. In some cases, I've gone off and done little mobile games that perhaps have not paid as well as I'd liked. In some instances, I've made the decision to do 2 or 3 projects at once. Maybe they're smaller projects, and maybe I have worked very long hours, but I've made that decision to maintain my ability to continue to work in the industry. So rather than shoot for the win and risk everything, I've tended to be quite conservative. And there's been times when I've questioned that decision. Years ago, when I wrote and produced the fully orchestral scores as a composer, maybe it would have been a better decision for me at that time to risk everything and move to America and risk everything on that. Oh, I'm an orchestral composer, and try to get the bigger gigs. And instead, I didn't. I stayed in sort of more conservative employment. I continued to sort of build my business. I continued to stay in Australia and work remotely and take smaller gigs here and there and the occasional bigger gig that came through. And so what I've done is I've grown a sustainable career more slowly than trying to shoot for the top from day one and risk everything for the win, as it were. Was that the right decision? I don't know that I can answer that. I don't know there's any way of answering that. But what's interesting is I'm not generally unhappy. Sure, there are IPs that I would like to work on. Part of me wishes that I had worked on a AAA game. Although the more I look into it, the more I think that AAA games just end up becoming massively stressful. Quite often they are toxic work environments, etc. So I've managed to, by being somewhat conservative, I've managed to sustain a career. That is a level of success. I've managed to get paid for various different projects that I've worked on. That is a level of success. And I've tended to be a little bit conservative in my outlook towards not risking everything to try and be famous. So I think I've played to avoid losing. Occasionally that means that I've won. Occasionally that means that I've tied. But it keeps me in the game. And I think that's actually a really, really important thing, especially for people starting out. I'm not saying that you shouldn't take risks. I'm just suggesting that if you're playing for the long game, if you want to have a successful career well into your life and do what you hopefully enjoy doing for your entire life, then playing not to lose might be the better option. It has been for me. And look, by and large, I'm very happy. And that's something else that, again, I think, I wonder whether a lot of people can actually say that. Even the people who are working on these AAA games and who are earning lots of money, I've met some people and I really, really am unsure how happy they are being in those situations. So there's another outlook on how we can approach being creative, working in a creative industry, and trying to sustain, maintain a creative career. Play not to lose, not necessarily playing just to win. Thank you.